Close your notebook and come here with Uncle. This will be our little secret. That's what he always said when he came over to teach me math. Hold on, I'll tell you the whole story. My name is Mildred Elaine Thompson. I'm 75 years old now, and I'm from Cedar Grove, Mississippi. And look, if you think every adult is safe around kids, let me tell you loud and clear, they're not. Sometimes the biggest danger lives right next door, with a calm smile, a soft voice, and a Bible under his arm. I was just a little girl when the neighbor, Mr. Eddie, started helping me with my homework. That's what my mom used to say. Go on over to Mr. Eddie's, sweetie. He's good at math. He'll teach you real nice. She thought he was a gift from God. If only she knew. He was a widower in his early 40s, lived alone, the kind of man who spoke softly, looked people in the eye, said good morning to everyone on the street, and helped carry groceries. Everybody thought he was an angel, even my mom, who always said, if only every man were like Eddie. At first, that's all it was. He'd sit with me at the kitchen table and explain the math problems, gave me chocolate, told me I was really smart, that I didn't even seem like the daughter of a single mother. And back then, being a single mother's daughter was almost like an insult. Ask someone older in your family, they'll tell you. But with time, things changed. Not all at once, little by little. A compliment here, a hand on my shoulder there, a comment about how I was becoming too pretty for my age. I didn't get it, just knew something felt off. My stomach twisted every time he said that. But how was I supposed to know what was right or wrong if no one ever told me? Still, it bothered me a lot. You know how it is, right? Kids feel things. Kids notice. And I felt it. Felt the way he looked at me. Wasn't how a teacher or friend looks at you. It made my skin crawl. Then came the accidental touches. His hand would slip. His arm would brush mine. One day, he said I needed to learn to trust him, that it was all part of growing up. The first time he really crossed the line, I froze. He shut the kitchen door and said we were going to study alone today, that my mom had left anyway and we shouldn't waste time. Then he said he was going to show me what it meant to be really cared for. And then it started. Stuff I still can't even explain properly. Stuff that had nothing to do with notebooks or homework. That day I didn't cry, I didn't scream, I just stood there, with my mind somewhere else. I stared at the ceiling and imagined I was another little girl in another place. Because if I really thought about what was happening, I wouldn't survive it. Afterward, he gave me a piece of candy and said not to tell my mom. She wouldn't understand, he said. She'd think you were the one who asked for it. And I, so small, thinking I must have done something wrong. Can you believe that? My mom came home later, kissed me on the forehead, asked if I learned everything. I nodded, said yes, and went to my room feeling like I was going to throw up. That's how it started, sweetheart. And that's how it went on. Always the same routine. He'd knock on the door saying he was going to teach me, and my mom would happily let him in. He'd wait for her to go to the backyard, shut the door, and it would all begin again. I'd count the minutes for it to be over. Sometimes he said he loved me, that he only did those things because I was special. Special. And I started to change. I went quiet, stopped playing, hid in the bathroom, ate less, slept badly. My mom thought I was just being lazy, said I was going through a phase, but it was fear. Fear of speaking up and no one believing me. I spent the whole night with my face buried in the pillow, holding back tears so my mom wouldn't hear. And in the middle of all that, a memory came to me. My teacher, Miss Harris. She was the only person who talked to me like I was real. A tall black woman, the kind who walked into a room and everyone went silent. She had a firm way about her, but with kind eyes. And me, even though I was quiet and hiding in the back of the class, I felt like she saw something in me no one else did. She called me my sweet Mildred and told me I had a good mind, that I could be anything I wanted in life. I don't even know where she got that from, but when she said it for a second, I believed it. It was with her that I learned feeling scared every day wasn't normal, that no man had the right to make a girl shake. And because of her, I started thinking, what if I told someone? But telling was dangerous. Mr. Eddie used to say if I opened my mouth, bad things would happen. Said my mom would send me away, that nobody would believe me, that they'd say I was dirty. And kids believe stuff, right? I believed it. But even so, that day, I went to school with that thought burning in my head. It was a Friday, and my stomach turned just thinking he'd be at my house again that weekend with his notebook and that disgusting smile. Miss Harris noticed. She always noticed. When I walked in, I didn't even look up. Sat down, shoved my face in a book, quiet, just thinking about all the horrible stuff going on in my life. I already knew life was hard, that the world was crazy, but you never think something like this will happen to you. In the middle of class, she walked by me and touched my shoulder. "You okay, baby?" I just nodded. Lying. Of course I wasn't. But what kid has the guts to say her whole world is falling apart? I was tired of pretending, but fear still ruled me. At the end of class, she called me. Everyone else left, and she asked me to stay. "Mildred, you've been quiet. Too quiet. What's going on?" That hit me hard, because no one ever asked like that. Everyone else just said, "You're acting weird. Are you sick? You're being rude." But she really wanted to know what was happening. I tried not to cry, crossed my arms, looked down, and she kept going, soft and gentle. "If someone's hurting you, Mildred, if something's wrong, you can tell me. I'm here." Then I broke. I just stood there, frozen, trying to push the words out. My mouth wouldn't move, my hands were sweaty, every part of me wanted to run, but I stayed, and I just said, "The neighbor, Mr. Eddie, he says he's helping me with homework, but he does stuff, teacher." She didn't ask what kind of stuff, didn't press for details, didn't doubt me. She just pulled me close and hugged me in a way my mom never had, and said firmly, "You didn't do anything wrong. You hear me? Nothing. He's the one in the wrong here, and we're gonna fix this." I cried so hard, it felt like my soul was pouring out through my eyes. Everything I'd held in for months came out all at once. I was shaking, sweating, sobbing, and she was right there, holding my hand, not letting go, not scared. She gave me a glass of water, told me to breathe deep, said I wasn't going home alone. She'd go with me, and that the next day the principal would be told, but gently, on my terms, no pressure. That day, I felt what relief was. Just a little bit. Small, but enough to breathe without feeling like I was swallowing rocks. I still didn't know what would happen or how my mom would react, but just having spoken, just having someone hear me and say, "I believe you," was already everything. On the way home, Miss Harris came with me. We were quiet almost the whole time. Only at my front gate did she stop, looked me in the eyes and said, "You were very brave today, and you're not alone." That night, I slept for the first time with a tiny bit of hope. Small, shy, but real. Only thing is, life never lets you rest too long. Because the next day, Mr. Eddie knocked on the door. The next day, my hands were still ice cold. The night had dragged on, you know? Even after telling Miss Harris everything, the fear didn't leave me. Because that's how your head works. Even when the truth comes out of your mouth, your heart keeps shrinking. My mom didn't notice a thing. Made coffee, asked me to help with the dishes, asked about school, and me, I just answered with yeah and dunno. It was like the courage I had the day before had drained out with my sleep. It was around 4 in the afternoon when the doorbell rang. When I heard that ding-dong, I just knew it was him. I could tell by the way the silence in the house shifted. My mom wiped her hands on her apron and went smiling to open the door. "Eddie, what a nice surprise." Surprise, huh? I wanted to scream, "Surprise for who, Mom?" 'Cause for me, it's a nightmare. I hid behind the living room wall, too scared to even look, but I heard everything. Came by to see how Mildred's doing. She missed yesterday afternoon, got worried, he said with that fake angel voice that made me sick. My mom laughed. She probably made up some excuse. Girls are full of tricks, you know. I'll call her. I froze. I didn't want to go. Didn't even want to breathe the same air as that monster. But my mom came in with that face like she was already losing her patience. "Mildred, Mr. Eddie wants to talk to you. Come on, girl, don't be rude." So I went. Tiny steps, eyes down. He looked at me with a big toothy smile, but his eyes had no shine at all. "Good to see you, Mildred. I've missed our lessons. Can we continue today?" My mouth went dry. Before I could say anything, my mom said, "Of course you can. She's free today, yes. Go sit at the table. I'll bring you some juice." And she went to the kitchen. Left me there with him. Again. I wanted to disappear, but something inside me didn't let me. It wasn't quite courage yet, but it felt like a fire growing in my stomach, a quiet rage. I looked him straight in the face, and for the first time, I didn't look away. I told my teacher. His face changed. It was quick, but I saw it. The smile dropped like a mask, just for a second. Then he fixed his expression and leaned in closer. "Told her what? You going crazy, you little brat? Want me to do something real bad to your family?" "Everything." He blinked, then said real low, "That's not good for you, Mildred. You're confused. You're gonna end up hurting your mom, your little sister." When my mom came back with the glass of juice, the conversation flipped in a flash. He was already talking about multiplication tables like nothing had happened. And me, sitting there, hands sweating, feeling my heart scream inside. As soon as he left, my mom started in. "What's this about skipping his lessons?" I stayed quiet, but she kept pushing. "Talk, girl, you sick? Just being lazy?" "Mom, I don't want to be alone with him anymore." She looked at me real serious and sighed. "Why not? He does things. Bad things." She stood still. Her eyes moved like she was trying to find some excuse in her head. "What kind of things?" I couldn't say it. I just said, "He touches me, Mom. Pretends it's a lesson, but it's not." She crossed her arms. "You're making things up, Mildred. That's a serious thing to say. Eddie's a good man, a good neighbor. You must have misunderstood." "No, Mom. I know what he did." She took a deep breath, grabbed a dish towel, and smacked the edge of the table, upset. "I won't let you spread lies. That reflects badly on us. You know what people will say? But it's true." She turned, eyes cold. "Enough. Go to your room, and tomorrow you're going to look him in the eye and apologize for skipping his lesson." Right then, I saw it. I saw she chose him. I went to my room, but I didn't cry. I had no more tears left, just a hole growing in my chest. My mom didn't believe me. Worse, she was sending me back. But I wasn't going. I swore to myself never again. The next morning, when I got to school, Miss Harris was already waiting. She took me to the principal's office, told them everything. And me, shaking, I told them. They didn't doubt me. Not once. Miss Harris held my hand the whole time. The principal said they'd call child services, that they'd file the right reports, that I was safe there. But what about home? At home, I was still just the daughter who lied about the polite neighbor. I left school feeling like my body had been beaten from the inside. My head ached, stomach twisted, but my heart had a tiny bit of relief. I thought now, after telling Miss Harris and the principal, everything was going to change. I thought someone was finally going to pull me out of that nightmare. Poor me. I walked slowly down the sidewalk, kicking pebbles, looking at the ground. I was still about 2 blocks from my street when I heard a car pull up on the other side. It was him, Mr. Eddie, behind the wheel, elbow hanging out the window, that damn smile on his face. "Mildred, want a ride?" I froze. My whole body locked up, but he was already out of the car. Walked up real calm like he was offering candy. "I just want to talk. No need to be scared, okay?" I looked behind me. The street was empty, just a dog lying in the shade, and the school was already far behind. He opened the car door. "Get in the car, you little brat, let's go." I should have run. I should have screamed. But my body was just fear. And fear, my dear, makes you obey even your own executioner. So I got in. He shut the door, walked slow back to the driver's seat, and started driving. Didn't say a word for a few minutes, just the radio playing low, some song I can't even remember now. My fingers were stiff, gripping the edge of the seat. Then he stopped the car. Not at home. in some empty lot overgrown with tall weeds between the road and a field, and there he killed the engine. His smile disappeared. He turned to me. His eyes didn't have that calm look anymore. "You're playing with fire, Mildred." I took a deep breath, tried to sound strong, but my voice came out thin. I just told the truth. He laughed, a mean, bitter laugh. "Truth? Your truth, huh? A confused little girl making stuff up because she doesn't understand her own feelings?" I tried to answer, but he didn't let me. "You have no idea what I'm capable of. Your mom, that woman who's always calling me the neighborhood angel, and your little sister, so cute with her little ribbons in her hair." My whole body froze. "If you touch her, You what?" he said, leaning closer. "Gonna tell more lies? Tell your teacher I'm a monster? Write a letter to the mayor?" He got his face real close. That warm, sweet breath, the same smell as the candies he used to give me after hurting me. "If you don't take back what you said, I'll ruin your mother's life, get her fired, turn the whole town against you, and your sister, then you'll really know what it means to lose sleep." I felt sick. My throat burned. "Please," was all I could say. He smiled, but it was cold. "Then you're gonna do exactly what I say. You'll say you got confused, that your teacher misunderstood. You'll say nothing ever happened." He turned back to the wheel, started the engine, and acted like nothing had happened, dropped me off 2 houses down from mine, looked at me and said, "Remember what I told you, Mildred. One wrong word, and your family pays." I got out and just walked, my legs shaking, my face burning. When I walked in, my mom didn't even notice. She was in the kitchen, grating carrots, humming. I went straight to my room, crawled under the blanket and stayed there, shaking. And that's when I realized something that hurt even more than everything else. Even when you speak, even when someone believes you, evil still has claws, and it pulls, and it squeezes, and it threatens, and nobody's there to hold your hand when you walk back through that front door. After weeks without sleeping right, I ended up just crashing, almost like I went into hibernation. Out of nowhere, I woke up to my mom smacking my leg. "Get up, girl, get up now. Look what you've done. Put something on and get to the living room, move." My mom's eyes were filled with rage. She didn't even wait for me to ask. "There's people waiting for you. Get to the living room, now." My body moved before I even understood. I stood up, grabbed the first dress hanging behind the door. My hands were shaking, my heart felt like it was gonna blow out of my ear. Every step to that living room felt like a stone tied to my foot. When I turned the corner, I saw them, sitting on the couch, Miss Harris and a woman I'd never seen before. White woman, hair tied back, high-collared blouse, clipboard in her lap. Social worker, you could tell by the way she looked at me. My mom stood there, arms crossed, mouth stiff. "Go ahead, Mildred," she said with no emotion. "Explain it to them." Miss Harris stood up. Her face was kind, but careful too. "It's okay, Mildred. We just want to understand better what's going on. You can take your time. This is a safe place." The social worker smiled, that rehearsed kind of smile. "We're here to listen, sweetheart, don't worry." But I wasn't okay. I was in pieces. I kept seeing Mr. Eddie in my head, repeating the threats. My mom sitting next to me, sighing loud, and the image of my little sister with the ribbon in her hair. He was going to hurt her, and if not her, then my mom, or both. I just knew. I swallowed hard, looked at Miss Harris. Inside, I was screaming, "Help me, get me out of here." But my mouth said something else. It was a misunderstanding. The words came out empty, barely a sound. The social worker made a face like crap. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" I took a deep breath. My stomach turned, and I kept talking, like someone else was speaking for me. I got confused. I thought he was being weird, but looking back, he was just trying to help. I imagined things. Miss Harris didn't blink. She knew something was off, but she didn't push, just stayed quiet. The social worker was writing everything down, her head nodding slowly like she wanted to believe me, but had heard this before. My mom jumped in over me. "See? I told you. The girl lives in a fantasy. Always been like that. Just imagine what would have happened if this story had gone forward. It would have ruined that man's life. A good man. A good man." I wanted to throw up. The social worker closed her notebook. Well, if it really was a mistake, we appreciate your honesty, Mildred. But if at any point you feel like you need to talk again, the school and we are here for you, okay? I nodded like I understood, but what for? I was screwed either way. I couldn't even look them in the eye as they left. My mom shut the door and turned to me with a look that hurt worse than getting slapped. That was the most shameful moment of my life. You trying to destroy our reputation. You want people whispering about us at church, at school? You gone crazy, girl? You've always been a problem. I stayed silent, staring at the floor. Thank God Eddie didn't show up here today. And you better pray he still wants anything to do with us, because if he cuts us off, I'll make you go there on your knees and beg for forgiveness. I went back up to my room, crawled under the blanket again, and there, under the covers, I cried without making a sound, from rage, from disgust, from shame, but mostly from guilt. 'Cause now everything was messed up, right? I had opened the door to the truth and then slammed it shut again. And when you do that, sweetheart, the pain comes back twice as hard. Because on top of it all, you feel like an accomplice. Miss Harris didn't come looking for me in the days that followed, didn't call either, and I got it. She'd done everything she could, and me, too scared, I pulled the brake. But it wasn't cowardice. It was protection. The only kind I knew how to do. Only that silence, that misunderstanding I made up. It wouldn't last forever. If this story's getting to you, give it a like, will ya? Every like feels like a little push to keep this old lady talking. Almost a month passed since that day I sat in that room and lied to everyone. Since I said it was just confusion in my head, that nothing really happened. Everyone believed it, or pretended to, and life went back to how it always was, or almost, because nothing inside me ever went back to normal. That guilt kept growing, and the fear changed. It wasn't that childish fear of hiding under the blanket anymore. Now it was something else. A fear that walked with me down the street, that slept beside me, that ate off my plate. Because I knew he was still out there, Mr. Eddie, free, worse, unbothered. And I knew that someday, somehow, he'd show up again. I just didn't know when. And it happened on just another ordinary day. Clear skies, no warning. I was walking back from school, backpack on my shoulders, head elsewhere. I'd walked about 3 blocks when I heard the sound of a car pulling up behind me. I turned right away. I knew that sound. It was him, Mr. Eddie's car, that old brown sedan that always creaked when it stopped. He rolled the window down slowly. "Mildred, get in." I froze, looked at him but said nothing. "I'm talking to you, girl. Get in the car." I shook my head. "Number, not even in my nightmares. Come on now, don't make me get out." And he got out. The door slammed shut. He came toward me fast, no smile this time, his eyes hard, face red. A different man. Or maybe the same one from the start, just tired of pretending. "What do you think you're doing, huh? Gonna walk past me like nothing happened, huh?" "Leave me alone," was all I could manage. He grabbed my arm tight. "You owe me. You got me investigated. You put the whole town's eyes on me, then left me to deal with the mess. Now you're gonna listen." I tried to pull my arm away, but he squeezed harder. "Let go," I said, but it came out quiet. "You're getting in this car, and you're gonna talk to me right, or I'll go to your house, talk to your mom, your sister, and then you'll really see what wrong looks like." And then, like a miracle, I heard it. "Hey!" A voice I knew, loud and sharp, cutting through the air. We both turned at the same time. Across the street, just stepping out of the school gate, there she was, Miss Harris, with a look I'll never forget, a look that mixed fury and protection. She crossed the street, almost running, and Mr. Eddie let go of my arm in shock. "What are you doing with my student?" she asked. Her voice was steady, no shaking. He tried to make something up. I just wanted to give her a ride. She lives nearby. Her mother always allows it." "Oh, really? Because that's not what it looked like." She turned to me. "Mildred, are you okay?" I nodded, but the tears were already there, ready to fall. He grabbed me, tried to force me into the car, I said, this time loud, no shame. Mr. Eddie stepped back, rattled. That girl lies. She's always lied. You know how teenagers are." "Shut up," Miss Harris said with such power it even scared me. She pulled her phone from her pocket. "I saw what you did. I saw you putting your hands on her. I'm a witness, you hear me?" He started to say something but thought better of it, got back in the car, slammed the door, and sped off. I collapsed to the ground, knees giving out. Miss Harris knelt beside me and held me, tight, with both arms. "You're okay now. I saw it. I'm here." And I cried. For the first time in a long while, I cried like a child, loud, sobbing, because now it wasn't just me against the world. Someone had seen, someone knew, and this time, there was no more pretending. She took me straight to the principal's office. They called the same social worker from before, and I told everything. This time with no filter, no fear. What he did when my mom wasn't around, what he said, the threats, the rides, the touches, all of it. The social worker listened quietly, wrote it all down, recorded, noted everything. Miss Harris stayed right by my side, her hand holding mine the entire time. "I believed you from the start," she said, "but now no one can pretend they don't know." And just like that, almost a month after I buried my truth, it came back to light. But sweetheart, the truth doesn't bring peace right away. It brings war. And that's what began after that day. We got into the social worker's car like we were headed to a slaughterhouse, silent, staring straight ahead, just the sound of the engine and fear hanging from the rearview mirror. I sat in the back, Miss Harris next to me, holding my hand like she was trying to glue together the pieces of what was left of me, and the social worker up front, with a look like she already knew all hell would break loose when we got to my house. And it did. When my mom opened the door, it was like she was expecting guests for coffee, not about to hear that her daughter had been used, threatened, and almost dragged into a car. She smiled, wiped her hands on her apron, and said, "Hi, can I help you?" The social worker took a deep breath, gave that polite little smile, and walked right in without waiting for permission. "Mrs. Regina, we need to talk right now." My mom closed the door slowly, looking at me like she couldn't understand why I was there. Miss Harris didn't wait. "You remember what happened a month ago? When Mildred said nothing happened? That it was all just confusion in her head?" "Of course I remember." And she confirmed that herself, didn't she? The social worker was already pulling out papers from the folder. "Well then, yesterday your neighbor tried to grab your daughter in the middle of the street and force her into his car. I saw it with my own eyes." My mom froze. "What did you just say?" "He grabbed my arm, Mom," I said, quiet but firm. "He threatened me, said if I didn't shut up, he'd do stuff to you and Eliza too." My mom sat down like the weight of everything just dropped all at once. She put her hand on her chest and stared into nothing. The social worker didn't waste time. "Mrs. Regina, we need your permission to move forward with the formal report. The school already filed an incident. Now we need you to do your part. He needs to be arrested." My mom took a deep breath, like she'd just been punched in the gut. Then finally, she looked me in the eyes. "Mildred, I'm sorry. I should have listened to you. I should have protected you. I was so worried about what other people would think. I forgot to think about you." I didn't answer. Because in moments like that, there's no right answer. Just the silence of someone who's waited too long to hear those words. My mom stood up, angry now. "Where does that bastard live?" The teacher asked. "2nd Street past the bakery, the wooden house with the big porch." My mom went to the phone. "I'm calling the cops right now." The social worker nodded. "That's right. We'll be with you through all of it." But then, right in the middle of that heavy moment, we heard a loud noise from outside. Tires screeching, windows rattling, hearts racing. Vroom! We ran to the window, and there he was, Mr. Eddie, in his car, speeding off like someone who just overheard way too much from behind a fence. My mom spat out the words, "That son of a bitch was listening." Miss Harris was already yanking the phone off the wall. "Call now, tell them he's running." And that's exactly what we did. Or better said, what the social worker did. With a steady voice, number in hand, no shaking. Yes, he just took off at high speed, Brown car, plate number such and such. He's fleeing. The victim is here. We're waiting." Not even 20 minutes later, I saw a sight I never thought I'd see. A cop car in front of our house. Lights flashing. 2 officers stepping out. One of them was big and sweating like crazy. The other looked like he didn't even trust his own shadow. The social worker opened the door, explained everything. "The girl here was threatened by this man. We have a witness, we have the report. He ran off after finding out we were going to report him." One cop just looked at me and said, "Where does he live?" My mom pointed. 2nd Street, past the bakery, wooden house, big porch, and off they went. The 3 of us, me, my mom, and the teacher, stood at the door waiting, like people waiting on test results. But it didn't take long. The patrol car pulled up in front of his house. The 2 of them got out, knocked on the door, called out, waited, knocked again. Nothing. Gone. The neighbor no one ever suspected, the one everyone called polite, kind, a good Christian, was now just smoke. One of the cops came back to the car, grabbed a notepad and said, "We're going to need you all at the station to file everything officially. As soon as possible." My mom didn't waste time. Started getting ready for us to go right away. We all got back in the social worker's car, but this time, the silence was different. It was heavy, yeah, but with a different smell. The smell of truth finally rising to the surface. The smell of something that stayed hidden way too long. At the station, we went straight into this dull little room with a table full of papers and a woman who looked like she'd seen way too much mess in her lifetime. She listened to everything, took notes, got Mr. Eddie's info. She looked through the paperwork, grabbed a few more boxes, and then, sweetheart, that's when the bomb dropped. The woman from the station looked up, stared right at us and said, "This man, he's already been arrested in another city 7 years ago. Similar crime. Minor involved." The silence hit so hard it felt like someone turned the whole world off. My mom brought her hand to her mouth. "How did no one know about this?" The woman just shrugged. "He used a different last name back then. Got out early for good behavior. Moved here, fresh start, clean name. Until now." I looked at my teacher. She just closed her eyes and took a deep breath. My mom looked like she was in shock. I let him into my house. I let him sit with my daughter. My God. And it was right there, sitting in that hard chair, hearing all of that I understood. It wasn't just me. It never was. He had done it before. And if nobody did anything, he'd do it again. But now someone had seen. Now someone had heard. After that long day at the station, with people coming in and out, paperwork, serious cops asking questions too big for my mouth, we finally went home. The social worker dropped us off on the sidewalk and left with that look like she knew her job still wasn't over. My mom looked at me strange, like she still hadn't processed it all. And let's be real, she got hit with a lot. Finding out the neighbor she praised so much had already been to prison for something similar was like getting punched by the hand of God. It shook her. When we walked into the house, she pulled me by the arm gently and said, "Sweetie, sit here with me. I need to talk to you." I sat down. She did too. Took a deep breath, like she was fishing courage out of her soul. I was a fool with a degree in ignorance. You told me, tried to show me, and I chose to listen to everyone else. I listened to neighbors, church folks, outside voices. But I didn't listen to my own daughter. She grabbed my hands. "Forgive me. I failed. I failed as a mother. And now I promise you, Mildred, now I'll protect you till the end. That man will never get near you again. Never." I just nodded, too tired to talk. My body begging for a bed, my heart wanting to believe her. And for a moment, I believed. I thought maybe this was it, that justice would work, that he'd disappear, that the nightmare was over. Poor me. I went upstairs and slept. A deep sleep, the kind your body begs for when it's completely drained. I don't even remember laying down. I just know I passed out. But I woke up in the worst way. I woke up with a hand that smelled like alcohol covering my mouth, hot breath on my face and weight pressing on my chest. Quiet, don't even think about screaming. It was him, Mr. Eddie. My heart jumped dry in my chest. I tried to move, but he was on top of me, his knee pinning my legs, his hand tight over my mouth. You thought you could screw me over and sleep peacefully, huh? He smelled like booze and rage, face sweaty, eyes bloodshot, shirt unbuttoned. Of course he'd come in through the kitchen. The latch was always loose. After all, he was part of the family, right? Knew the house like the back of his hand. Knew where everything was. For him, getting in was easier than opening the fridge. Now you're gonna learn. Gonna learn what it means to pay for running your mouth. He yanked me out of bed like I was a sack of flour. I tried to fight back, kicked, hit, but he was stronger. Dragged me down the stairs, knees scraping, arm twisted. My mom? Nowhere to be found. Sleeping like a rock. Or worse, maybe she'd gone out. I'll never know. Mr. Eddie opened the front door, shoved me outside, and dragged me straight to his car parked out front. Back door already open. He threw me in hard. My head hit the seat. Door slammed shut. Then he floored it like the house was on fire. The car flew down the street, and he screamed, "You ruined my life! I was respected in this town. Everyone loved me. Then you show up with your scared little girl act and throw it all in the trash. Let me go. Please, shut the hell up." He jerked the steering wheel so hard the car almost flipped. My shoulder slammed into the door and my arm went numb. Now you're gonna see. Gonna see what happens to people who stick their nose where it doesn't belong. Gonna feel what it's like to destroy someone's life. You want justice? Oh, you'll get it. He laughed and screamed at the same time, like a madman, like someone who'd lost all control. Then a plain, unmarked car, one of those you only realize is a cop when it's too late, showed up in the rear view, moving slow, discreet, but alert. Mr. Eddie spotted it right away. Shit. He hit the gas. The cop car sped up too. He looked at me through the rearview mirror, eyes burning. Listen to me, you little brat. When I stop this car, you're gonna say you're my daughter, that you're sick, that I'm taking you to the hospital. Got it? I said nothing. Got it. I got it. Good. 'Cause if you say one damn thing, if you pull anything, I'll make sure you disappear, and no one's gonna find you. He turned on the blinker, pretending to stay calm. Pulled over to the curb. The cop car stopped right behind. The officer got out, tall, calm, hand near his weapon. "Good evening, everything okay here?" "Of course, officer. My daughter here wasn't feeling well. I'm taking her to the hospital. High fever, you know how it is. A father's panic." The officer looked at me. "She your daughter?" Before I could say anything, he added, "Why's her arm hurt? And why's her mouth red like someone tried to shut her up?" I stayed quiet for 2 seconds. 2 seconds that felt like 2 years. Then I said, "He kidnapped me. He's not my dad. He came into my house and dragged me to the car. He hit me." The cop didn't hesitate. "Step out of the car. Now slowly. Hands where I can see them." Mr. Eddie still tried to argue, but the cop had already pulled his gun. I said, "Hands up against the car." He obeyed, shaking, but still with that hateful look, like I was the one in the wrong. "You're gonna regret this," he whispered as the cop cuffed him. "The one who's gonna regret it is you," the cop answered. I got out of the car crying. My legs were shaking. The officer called for backup. In 5 minutes, another patrol showed up. Lights, noise, people peeking from windows. The circus was in town, and right there in the middle of the street, I saw my mom coming, running. Hair down, nightgown on, barefoot. My daughter, oh my God! She hugged me so tight I thought she'd break me. "He was inside the house, Mom. Came in through the kitchen. Took me, threatened me. But I locked the door. He knew how to open it. He always did." My mom looked at the car, looked at the man being shoved into the police vehicle, and she cried. Cried like someone who realized everything too late. But at least, sweetheart, now it wasn't a secret anymore. Now everyone had seen it, and when the whole town sees, you can't hide it anymore. That night didn't end when he got cuffed. We went straight to the station. Me, my mom, the 2 cops, and somehow, don't even ask me how, Miss Harris showed up there too. How did she even find out? I don't know. Miracle of someone who actually cares. All I know is that when I looked at the waiting room and saw that woman sitting there with a tired face, holding a little water bottle and waiting for me, my heart eased just a bit. She looked at me and just said, "I came, Mildred. I'm here." And she stayed. The station was cold, lit by those tube lights that somehow make you feel even more tired. The place smelled like old coffee, and there was paper everywhere. One of the cops told us to wait in the next room, and that's where we stayed until they called each of us to give our statement. I was first, walked in shaking but held it together. The chair was hard, and the guy listening was an older investigator, the kind of man who's probably heard a lot but still gets shaken by some stories. He asked me to tell everything, from the beginning, and I told him about that first homework lesson in the kitchen, told him about the candy he gave me after hurting me, told him about the fear, about the teacher, about the lie, about the threats, about the car. Told him everything, all of it. While I was talking, you could hear him. Yeah, Mr. Eddie, locked up right there in the station, in one of the back cells, but loud like a kettle ready to explode. "I'm gonna destroy you all, filthy rats. She lied, she wanted me. That little brat tempted me." His voice echoed down the halls. It made me want to throw up. And listen, sweetheart, he said so many disgusting things, so much filth, that this old lady right here refuses to even repeat it. Some things don't even deserve to stay in a foul mouth. The officers just stared at the ground like they'd heard it all before and couldn't be shocked anymore. I kept staring at the recorder on the desk, hoping every single word I said was getting locked in there forever, as living proof of the hell that man put me through. Then I went to the waiting room. My mom went in next. Took a while. She probably cried, yelled, apologized again. Then it was Miss Harris's turn. She told them everything she saw that day on the street. We left the station close to 3 a.m., exhausted, like we'd been run over by a truck. The officer said, "Now comes the long part, ladies. The report will go to the prosecutor, the judge will review the case, and if all goes well, he'll be tried and convicted. But it's going to take time." Of course. Everything in this world moves fast, except justice. And him, the neighbor, he stayed there, locked up, charged with attempted kidnapping, breaking and entering, and assault, but not for everything he'd done before. That part was still under investigation. And just like that, the longest months of my life began. Every week meant another trip to the station, meetings with lawyers, social workers, psychologists, a bunch of people with serious faces, pens in hand, recorders on the table. I told the story so many times it started to feel like I was talking about someone else. But I wasn't. It was mine. My mom never missed a single appointment. Sat right beside me, held my hand, listened to everything. Sometimes she cried. Sometimes she just breathed deep. But she was there. Late? Yeah, but there. Miss Harris, too. She stayed in my life, took me to school, kept an eye on me, helped me make up for the year I'd lost. Because that's how it is, right? While the world worries about the criminal, the victim has to move on, smile, and pretend everything's fine. It took 3 months just to reach the preliminary hearing. When it came, it felt like the whole town knew. The local newspaper ran a story. The radio talked about it. And of course, half the town was on the man's side, saying it was all made up. The other half didn't know what to think. But as soon as the details started to leak and his criminal record came out, a lot of mouths shut real quick. Yeah, because when the prosecution pulled up Mr. Eddie's past, everything came out. The case from 7 years ago, the girl from another city, the sentence he didn't serve fully because of good behavior, the address changes, the fake last name, the history of threats, everything. The judge, an old man with a tired face, listened carefully. The prosecutor was solid, showed the reports, the statements, the school's documentation. His lawyer tried everything, said I was jealous, that my mom pushed me into it, that the teacher was chasing attention. No one bought it. Then came the trial. It dragged on. 2 full days. Me there, sitting, hearing my name brought up like I was some character in a tragic soap opera. But I was there, alive, standing. And in the end, the judge read the sentence. Edward Henry McAllister, you are hereby sentenced to 22 years in state prison for the crimes of kidnapping, attempted kidnapping, luring of a minor unlawful entry, physical assault, and repeated criminal behavior. 22 years, the maximum they could give under the law. In the U.S., it depends on the state. But in our case, with the evidence and the repeat offender flag, he got the ceiling. And I'll tell you, darling, it could have been 100 years, and it still wouldn't erase what he did. But at least now I could sleep without fearing the door would creak open on its own. As we left the courthouse, my mom hugged me. Tight. You did it, baby. But I knew it didn't really feel like a win, because to win we shouldn't have to go through so much. And you want to know the craziest part? He still looked at me one last time while they took him away in cuffs. And guess what he said? This isn't over. Well, for me, it is. Because anyone who still thinks they've got power after being exposed, arrested, tried, and sentenced is just a coward trying to lie to himself. And me? I moved on. But the trauma was still there. Life after the trial was kind of shaky at first, but it slowly started falling into some kind of routine again, you know? The kind of days that aren't too exciting or tragic, just simple. And that was already more than enough for me. I went back to school after a few weeks off. Miss Harris, of course, insisted on picking me up on my first day back. She showed up at the door in a lilac dress, with that look of someone who carries the world on her shoulders but still smiles like it's nothing. "Shall we, my girl?" she said, holding out her hand. I went. Still scared, but I went. On the way there, she talked about school like nothing had happened, about the classes, the new girl who joined our class, how the cafeteria now served apple pie on Fridays. She made everything sound normal, even when nothing really was. In the classroom, the stares came, of course. Some full of pity, others just curious. But no one said anything straight to me. Just whispers, side eyes, and that kind of silence you can feel even when the room's loud. But over time, it faded. People forget other people's pain fast, thank God. The weeks passed, school stuff came back, and me, in my own broken way, started fitting back in. Still kept to myself more, still quiet in the corners. But I wasn't hiding like before. The best part? Miss Harris started coming to our house. At first, it was just to drop off assignments, go over some lessons. Then it turned into coffee, then into dinner. Before I knew it, she was already part of the family. My mom even set up a little corner in the guest room for her to sleep when it rained hard. And Eliza, my sister, became her shadow. The moment Miss Harris walked in, the girl was stuck to her, pulling on her skirt, asking for stories, brushing her hair. They looked like mother and daughter. Sometimes I'd feel a little jealous, but it would pass quick, because seeing the two of them together brought me peace. My mom changed a lot, became a whole new woman, more present, more aware. There were days I'd wake up to the smell of coffee and catch her staring at me like she was afraid of losing me all over again. Sometimes I'd see her crying alone in the kitchen, thinking I wasn't watching, but I saw. I just didn't say anything. Let her cry in peace. It was one of those afternoons, after school, the table full of papers and teacups, when Miss Harris asked the question. "Mildred, forgive me for being nosy, but what about your dad?" I looked at her, not really getting it at first. "My dad?" "Yeah, you never talk about him, and your mom doesn't either. I just wondered." The question was simple, but inside me, it felt like someone dropped a stone into a still lake. Everything came up. "He died," I said quietly. Miss Harris nodded slowly. "I'm sorry. Has it been a long time?" "Yeah, I was really little, like a baby." "What happened?" I stayed quiet for a while, tracing the edge of my teacup. "My mom says he died in the army, that he went off to fight and never came back." Miss Harris frowned but didn't say anything right away. "And she never said where or how." I shrugged. "Number?" "She just says he was a soldier, that he left too soon. That's it." She looked thoughtful, staring at nothing, like she was putting puzzle pieces together in her head. "Does it bother you?" "I don't know," I answered. "Sometimes yes, sometimes no. He was never really there, so there's not much to miss, you know?" She nodded slowly. I get it. But sometimes what's missing says more than what's there. I didn't answer, but those words stuck with me the rest of the night. When I went to bed, I just stared at the ceiling, thinking about him, my dad, the man who, according to my mom, died fighting. But fighting where? Against who? When? There was never a picture, never a letter, never a story, just silence. And I had never really noticed how strange that was until now. But the truth is, sweetheart, our mind protects us from what hurts. And some things, even years later, still burn just to think about. The only memory I had of him was something my mom once snapped during an argument. You got his temper. That's why you give me trouble. That's it. A father reduced to bad genetics. A name no one said out loud. An empty seat at the table. Years went by, honey. And look, it wasn't easy, but it wasn't impossible either. Because when you've already been through the worst, everything else feels lighter, or at least comes with a warning. After the trial, the prison, the sleepless nights, and the whole town knowing my story, I started living again, one step at a time, slowly, like someone relearning how to walk after crawling for too long. School was the first place I started trusting again. I still remember what it felt like to walk through the gate and not get that twist in my stomach anymore. And that only happened because of her, Miss Harris. That woman became a part of my soul. The teacher became a friend, and the friend became family. We talked every day, even on weekends. Sometimes she'd swing by the house just to sit in the kitchen and have coffee with cornbread. She'd lend me her scarves, give me advice, scold me when I wanted to give up. "You're so much more than what they did to you, Mildred," she'd say. "And one day you're gonna prove that to the world." And look, even when I didn't believe it, she said it with so much certainty that I started repeating it to myself, like a prayer, and it worked. My mom? She changed. Didn't turn into a saint, far from it, but she became a real mom, paid more attention, protected me like a lioness, never left the doors unlocked again, never let another man just come in and strike up a conversation. And every time Mr. Eddie's name came up in memory, she'd lower her head and whisper, "I let him in." But life doesn't stop, right? And one day you wake up and there's a new routine. I finished school with good grades. Yeah, good. Because I decided that what he tried to steal from me, my mind, my smarts, my love for learning, he wasn't going to take. And look, while I was studying, life out there kept moving too. About 4 years after he went to prison, we got the news. Mr. Eddie was dead, died in prison. Official cause? Heart attack? Real cause? No one cried enough to care. My mom heard and just said, "May he rest and never come back, not even as wind." I didn't celebrate, okay? But I felt this weird kind of relief, like when some noise that's been bothering you for hours finally stops. That was it. Silence. After all that time, silence. The town talked about it for a couple of days. Then no one brought him up again, and we moved on. My sister Eliza grew up beautiful and smart, so different from me. She had a childhood, had a lap to rest in, had protection. Everything I didn't get, she had, and I was happy for her. It wasn't jealousy, it was victory. By 13, she was already saying she wanted to be a doctor, and we believed her. She studied all day long, and I helped however I could. Because, listen, by the time she was hitting adolescence, I was already working. Yep, I started early. Back then, no one really questioned why a 17-year-old girl was looking for a job. It was simple. Either you worked or there was no food. So I went. My first job was in a small grocery store, cleaning shelves and helping at the register. The pay was low, but it was honest. And every day I came home tired, saw my mom doing laundry and my sister doing homework, I'd think, at least now this feels like a real home. Time passed. The grocery store turned into a clothing shop. The clothing shop turned into a school library. Until one day, a teacher didn't show up. And guess who they called to fill in? "Mildred," said the principal, "you're always here. Want to help out?" It's just reading with the little ones. I said yes. At first, I just read stories out loud. Then I started helping with writing. Before I knew it, I was really teaching. No degree, but all heart. Because when you've been through what I've been through, you know how to teach from the soul. And kids feel that. That's when Miss Harris gave me a push. You need to study. Go to college. You're too good to just be subbing for people. College, Miss Harris? Come on, don't just dream it, plan it, go after it. You can. It took time, but I did it. Took night classes, saved up money, and at 22, I got into the community college in the next town over. Education major. Can you believe that? The girl who was called a liar, who had her voice silenced, was now going to be a teacher. Every class I took felt like a love letter to myself. I didn't get everything right. Sometimes I messed up, but I kept going. By bus, hitching rides, walking. And with every semester I passed, I felt more alive. Eliza, my sister, kept going strong, got into high school with top grades, won a scholarship, and landed in a tech prep school. The little girl who used to play with dolls now talked about biology, chemistry, cells, and said one day she'd do heart surgery on grown folks. And me, I just watched and smiled, because her future was my victory too. My mom stopped working when she got sick with kidney problems. Nothing too serious, but it made her really tired. Me and Eliza kept the house running, took turns with chores, shifts, bills. It was hard, sure, but we didn't have to ask anyone for help anymore. The town didn't whisper my name anymore, didn't remember the scandal, or if they did, they pretended not to. And that was good. I didn't want applause. I wanted peace. And even though life was still tough, we finally had calm. I had my space, my time, my people. And every birthday that went by, I'd look back and think, he tried to destroy me, but he failed. And to think it all started with a notebook, a kitchen door, and a cursed secret. But now, I'm the one who carries the truth. You know, sweetheart, there are things in life we don't get to choose. I didn't choose to be born a girl. I didn't choose to grow up scared. I didn't choose to be treated like a rag doll by people who should have protected me. But one thing I did choose. I chose not to die on the inside. The girl you met back then, dragged into the back seat of a car, dismissed by her own mother, she's not the same anymore. Today, I'm a teacher, a real one, with a degree, with my name on the classroom door and a soul full of stories. Not the kind you find in textbooks, but the kind that teach more than any workbook ever could. Yeah, I followed in her footsteps. The only person who reached out a hand without expecting anything back. The woman who gave me solid ground when the world tried to bury me. Miss Harris, that teacher who walked in quietly with eyes that saw beneath the surface and saw me, really saw me, when no one else even wanted to look. She's gone now, passed peacefully in her sleep, no drama, the way she deserved. But she left something in me, a mission, to never, ever let another girl go through what I went through without having somewhere to run. And that's what I've done every single day since I stepped into my first classroom. I teach elementary school kids, 9 to 13 years old, that age where things either start to come together or fall completely apart. And I look into their eyes like someone scanning for cracks. Because, I can spot a crack from a mile away. Sometimes it's the way they walk. Sometimes it's a notebook that's way too clean. Sometimes it's a quiet voice, a glance that avoids yours, or a backpack always too perfectly packed. And I know when something's trying to scream from inside. So I get close, offer water, talk about the weather, and when they open up, I'm there. Just like she was for me, no judgment, no rush, just listening and care. My students call me Auntie Mildred. Some call me my second mom. And when they hug me at the end of class, I feel like life is whispering, you didn't go through it all for nothing. And I didn't. My sister, Eliza, that little girl with the ribbon in her hair who saved me just by existing, she's a doctor now. White coat, ID badge around her neck, and a huge heart that heals people the same way she used to fix up her dolls. She stayed in town, works at the municipal hospital, saving lives, stitching cuts, pulling out splinters, whatever comes through the door. And there's Clara, my goddaughter, my joy, my light. Eliza's daughter, born full of questions and with that same curious sparkle in her eyes. Everyone calls her Clarina, but she insists on doctor. Clara Thompson. Maybe the bossy streak runs in the family, but she's sweet, kind, and every time she runs into my arms, I think, you're the proof that history doesn't repeat when we choose to do things differently. My mom passed away a few years ago. Cancer took her. Quiet, sneaky. We found out too late. I took care of her during those last months. Changed her bandages, bathed her, held her head when she got sick, and at the end, she apologized again, 1,000 times. I didn't listen to you, baby. I left you alone. If I could go back. I stopped her with a kiss on the forehead, because at that point, there was no room left for resentment, just tired love and shared pain. She died at peace, and I kept her photo on my dresser, not to remember the mistakes, but to remember the woman who tried to make it right, even if it was late. My life now, it's simple. Small house, rocking chair on the porch, half-dead plants, and an old radio that plays Sunday tunes. I've got my books, my notebooks, and student letters with crooked drawings, and that's enough for me. I never got married, never wanted to, and honestly, I don't think I ever needed to. After everything I went through, I learned that good company doesn't weigh you down, and I found that lightness elsewhere, in friendships, in my sister, in the kids who passed through my classroom and left notes that said, "You changed my life," and that's worth more than any ring. Every now and then, someone in town stops me on the street and asks, "Aren't you that teacher who was, the one who went through all that?" I smile and say, "I am." But today, I'm so much more than that, because what they did to me doesn't define me. What I did with the pain, that does. Oh, and the neighbor. He died in prison. Heart failure, they say. Some say it was a heart attack. Some say he got beaten up first. I don't know. And I didn't want to know. What matters is he never touched anyone again. And that, for me, is what counts. The other day, I was sitting with Eliza in the kitchen, having coffee and cheese bread, and she looked at me with those eyes full of love and said, "You saved us, Mildred." I choked on my coffee. Me? Yeah. If you hadn't spoken up, if you hadn't endured it all, I could have been next. That hit me hard, because it's true. The pain I carried became a shield for her. And from that moment on, I wasn't just a survivor. I was a bridge, a protector, the beginning of something new. Today, when I see my students raising their hands, speaking with confidence, walking with their heads held high, I know I planted a little piece of the woman I wished I had around when I was a kid, and I am that woman now. Not perfect, not a saint, but strong and fair. If you asked me today what I've learned from all of this, I'd say, I've learned that silence hurts more than the pain. I've learned that anyone who says it's all in your head deserves a slap of reality. I've learned that sometimes the ones who should protect you are the very ones who push you off the edge. But I've also learned that we can rise again, even after being buried alive. And that real love doesn't need blood ties. It just needs someone to look you in the eyes and say, "I believe you," like she did for me. And now I do for others. If you've made it this far, sweetheart, you already know me better than most ever did. Thank you for listening, for not turning away, for holding my story with respect. And if one day you come across a Mildred out there, a quiet girl, a boy holding it all in, an old soul carrying heavy pain, don't judge. Just listen. Because listening is the first step towards saving someone. And if you've got something stuck inside you, know this. Your truth deserves to come out. It deserves space, and it deserves peace, just like I did. And I found it. Today, finally, I'm home. And I'm at peace. The end. If this story touched you, sweetheart, leave a like. Every like is like a quiet hug that says, "I heard you, Mildred. I'm here."